Hey everyone, welcome back to Stable Dividends. I got a good one here for you. I have an ETF that did even better than SCHD in dividend growth this quarter. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Stable Dividends here. What we're going over one is our June 2024 dividends that we received this year. And then also we're going to be going over the ETFs. I saw a bunch of people talking about SCHD and 24% year over year growth, right, from this June compared to last June. I'm going to explain why that is and go into it. And again, I do have an ETF that did beat SCHD, and I am starting to load up on it. So I'll save that to the end. Of course, you can skip if you'd like, but let's just go ahead and get into it. So if we're looking in here, right? So if I look in here, and I posted a bunch of these from Robinhood for my account with these dividends here, but the first one's going to be $150. That's going to be from DGRO. It's this guy right here. Definitely a nice chunk of change. The next one's going to be VXUS. So that's the international, basically, it's an international version of VTI, right? Invests in every single country besides the United States. The next one here on my list, if we kind of keep searching, is going to be right here, $95. And if I scroll down on my screen that I'm not sharing here, that one's going to be VTI. We got $206 from VNQ, which I'm still currently holding. And then the big whopper, the mother lode of all dividends for June of 2024 is going to be $631, and that's going to be from VIG. Now, we also got $92 in my Schwab account from VIG, which basically that's coming out to over $700, almost three quarters of a grand, right? Coming from one ETF. So I'm pretty happy about that. The next one is going to be $309, which is fantastic. That is actually from VNQ. That's going to be from my Charles Schwab account as well. And then we also have $88. This is from DGRO in my Schwab account. And then last but not least, we got $438. This is from my BIL account. BIL ETF from Schwab. Basically, because those are treasuries, it's basically a fund for me in case I want to buy a home at the end of the year, which I might do a video on because I think home prices may come down. We'll see. So, what does that come out to be? That come out to be, if we have a little drum roll, is going to be $2,090.10, which is absolutely insane. Now, what I wanted to point out one little thing here. So, with this right here, this VIG and maybe one or two others, they ex-dividend in June, and then they'll be paying at the time of this recording, actually in a couple hours on July 2nd. Now, last year I put them into this bucket into July because that's when they paid. I'm putting it into this year just because every dividend investor, every investor, their juggernauts are going to be March, June, September, and December. And so I just want to put it up there. So if we combine these, so the only thing that's different here is that BIL pays every single month. And BIL, I'm pretty sure was this 500 here or the 439. So you take, roughly $450 off. So that'd be 1,100 plus, let's call that 400. So that's 500. So if we do some easy math here, just want to see how much, right? How much did we grow? So 1,500. So we'll do 2,100 just to round up, divide by, I think I said 1,500. That's a 40% growth from last June. That's absolutely insane. I'm very curious what this growth is going to look like at the end of the year. I always calculate that. And again, this is not just from my holdings, right? Because VIG is my biggest holding. It's definitely not increasing at 40% every single year. BIL actually doesn't really necessarily increase at all unless if interest rates increase, which I think interest rates in the short term, long term will be starting to come down. So my dividend actually income will actually come down from there. Um, but regardless, this is from dividend increases and also my personal right deposits into my account. That's increasing the income quite significantly. So I'm very excited to see this growth rate uh, come into there. So yeah, 40% increase from last year, $2,000 in dividends. I could pay basically just this month. I could basically pay my rent and barely survive with food, which is pretty crazy. Again, I can't do that every single other month because in July it's going to be like $500 and then $500 and then we'll have another big month in September. But again, we're working there, right? I remember when I came out of college and I started my first job, I had I don't know, a couple $1,000 to my name. I didn't really have much. Luckily, I didn't have any debt, but I didn't really have anything. And I had to work my way all the way to this from hyper saving to regular saving, right? And now I'm letting compounding do a little bit more of the work for me. So, um, anyways, I'll get off my soapbox here and I'm going to go to the dividend ETFs. And so here's what I got, right? We're gonna go from basically most of my holdings here. This is everything that I hold besides SCHD, and we're gonna go down the list. I'm gonna show you at the end which ETF did the best as far as dividend growth rate. So the first one's gonna be VNQ. And just so you guys know, I didn't know this, but I actually had to double check every single share price return because it was different between Seeking Alpha and Google. So I just averaged them. So I just want to point that out there. It's something I learned from doing this video. But the dividend growth year over year, right, for this June versus last June is going to be almost 12%, which is actually really respectable. But the dividend growth rate for the first half of the year, right, if we're counting March and June of this year versus March and June of last year, is really 4.14%. Not that great. And then a year-to-date share price return, as unfortunate, is negative 5.61%. Not that great. Next one's gonna be VYM. I'm not a big fan of this fund. I don't own any anymore. The only reason why, honestly, most of the time it's a great fund until, for example, in the financial crisis, they cut their dividends significantly. And that's the last thing I need is during a financial crisis. I also have my income drop like in half. It was absolutely insane. So, but again, we did all the math here, right? So dividend growth rate year over year for June was 17%, which is insane. But again, when you zoom out to the first half of the year, it's 5.7% total dividend growth, and then a year-to-date share price return of 5.89%. And again, I don't hate dividend, high dividend funds. I think it depends on where you're at, right? SCHD, it's a great fund, right? If you have enough to live off the income of SCHD, it's been doing great. It's been doing fantastic. You don't want to sell shares. I understand that. I think for people that are still in the accumulation phase, I think it's good to maybe stay a little bit away from high yield unless it really makes sense. And again, SCHD might fit your bid. The next one's going to be DGRW, which is an interesting one. This is a monthly paying dividend fund, which is really interesting. They go off of expected or forecasted earnings. And so we look here. So dividend growth rate from this June compared to last June is a double digit, 10.71%. But again, when we zoom out, it's only 5.56%. So we're starting to see a theme here between these funds, right? But year to date share price return is actually second best and the first best of all dividend funds, right? It's 11.14% share price return. The next one is going to be VIG. This is my favorite. This is the steady Eddie, right? We go over here, and the dividend growth rate for this June compared to last June is 15.58%. That's fantastic. When we zoom out, it's very respectable. It's 9.27% for the first half of this year versus the first half of last year. That's in line with VIG. I love this. That's almost double digit, which I think is fantastic. And again, year to date share price 7.24%. It's steady Eddie, right? It's not going to blow you out of the water, but it's not going to be negative or anything like that. I think 7% for the first half of the year is great. The next one, DGRO, another fan favorite here. If we go dividend growth rate for year over year from this June compared to last June, 16%, just a hair over VIG. And then they're also beating VIG and everyone else so far in the dividend growth for the first half of the year of 11.11%, which is fantastic. And just a hair under on year-to-date share price, right, is 6.88% compared to VIG. I always compare them because I think they're pretty similar funds. But next one, VTI. VTI right here, right, dividend growth rate year over year this June compared to last June, fantastic, 15.85%. And then this is the only one I think that I saw that grew, right? So the dividend growth for June was big, but then it got smaller when you zoomed out. When you actually look at besides the one I'm hiding here, this one actually grew even more when you zoomed out, 16.25%, fantastic, and it had the highest year-to-date share price return at 13.15%. Explainable, makes sense. It's VTI, it's the market, right? You're going to have growth stocks in there, so it's going to grow. It's going to grow more. Next, SCHD, what we've all been talking about, right? It has a 24% growth rate for June. That's absolutely insane. I'll get to this in a second, why it's highlighted. But basically, if we look here, it's not even respectable. It's absolutely insane, actually. A 24.24% growth between this June compared to last June. That's fantastic. Again, when you zoom out, it does go down, but still to a fantastic level, or a great level, I guess I should say, of 14.4%. The only thing that was pretty disappointing was the year-to-date share price return, right? That's of 1.77%. Now, why did I highlight the 0.66? Well, basically, the reason why I did, and I don't think it's necessarily SCHD fault or Charles' fault. It's just kind of where all the stocks kind of landed or whatever it may be. Maybe somebody cut or something like that. But in June of 2022, the dividend was 70 cents a share. And then it went down in 2023, the June of 2023, like a year later, right? It went down to 0.66. And you're thinking that's 4 cents, right? It's not a big deal. But if you look here, divided by 0.66 divided by zero point 0.7, right? That's a 6% decrease. Again, it's not something that to cry about, right? It does enter what I would call the choppiness, right? But that choppiness is more for that annual dividend. But it's just something to look at, right? And so when I look at this, right, it goes down from June 2022 to June 2023, it goes down by 6%, and then it goes up by 24% the year following. What I'm seeing here is like, okay, at the end of the day, sounds like they just had a little bit of an off June in 2023, and we're making up for it in the following June. So the 24% increase, it's valid, it's real, it's a fact, but there's something to explain there. Again, SCHD is a fantastic fund. I can't say anything bad about it besides the holdings. I'm not a huge fan, but the performance is there. Just because they're having, one bad year or two bad years does not mean it's a bad fund at all. I think it's just, it's really been fantastic. What I do think would happen, at the end of the day, let's say, in June of 2022, it was at 70 cents. June of 2023, if it did something normal, went to 74 cents, then we'd see something like this year where we wouldn't see a bunch of headlines. It'd be like 82 cents divided by 74 cents, right? It'd be something like that. And you have a 10, or I guess you'd call that 11% increase. So I think it's just making up, right, for what happened in 2023. It's just a misnomer. It's just something weird that happened. Anyways, we're moving on to the last and final one here. I'm going to unblur this. This is STXD. I need to do a video on this soon. I'm starting to load up on this. This comes from a company called Strive. The only thing I don't like about this, and I will point out, is it has a 0.35 expense ratio, which I'm not a fan of. That's pretty high. It's definitely where, you got to really consider if this is something that's interesting for you. I think it is. In March of 2023, it was 6 cents. In June of 2023, the dividend was 7 cents, giving it 13 cents for the first half of last year. Now in March, right, it has 10 cents, and in June it has 9 cents, giving it a total for the first half of the year 19 cents. So 19 divided by 13 comes out to be, right, 28.5% increase. And that's not all, guys. Obviously, you guys are looking at it right now. The dividend growth rate for the first half of the year is 46%. That's absolutely wild, right? So June, we're just looking at here, right? 9 divided by 7, right? We do it here, 9 divided by 7, right? It's going to be 28%. And then this dividend growth rate for the first half of the year is 46%. Like, imagine if you had STXD. And I understand, I feel like there's people screaming through the computer right now. It has a 1.3% yield. I understand that, right? If it doesn't work for you in your specific scenario, I understand that SCHD or VYM or VNQ, whatever, that might be better for you. But for someone who's in an accumulation phase, having your dividend income increase by 46% is insane. Like, let's imagine in 2023, let's just imagine have some fun. You made $60,000, right? In 2023. We're looking at it over here. So 2023, you made $60,000. You have it all in STXD. And then basically, right, we're only looking at the first half. So in the first half of the year, let's say you made 30,000. Now, if you increase your income by 46%, right? Times 1.46, right? 15%. That means you'd be making $43,845 for the first half of the year, right? And you had a respectable share price increase year to date so far of 8.83%. I think this is something that everyone should start looking into. It's very, very interesting. Anyways, that's it for today. I hope that helped. Thank you so much as well. Our subscriber growth is really starting to take off. We were at 50 looks like a week ago. Now we're at 56. We're kind of growing like crazy there. That's a 12% increase. And I really, really appreciate it, guys. I didn't see any names, by the way, on the subscriber list. I think that's on an individual basis if you share that with me. So look in the settings, see if you can do something. I'll shout you out. But until next time, happy investing, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.